Hi guys, and welcome to another Divi Theme video. This is Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Well, we've got another little animation for you today. We've got a little growing button there. As you can see, it's sort of changing colour and getting wider over a time period of about 10 seconds. Nice little feature to have on your site. That's going to get people's attention pretty quickly. It's going to get their eyeballs on it, which is what you want in a lot of situations. Really easy to do. We've got to do a slight bit of coding for this today, but don't let that put you off. Any coding I do, I'll put down below the video as usual, and you're welcome to copy and paste it, use it as you need to. Okay, to do this today, I'm going to temporarily set this page as my home page in my customizer. To get to the customizer, go down to your dashboard, go down to Appearance and Customize. That'll bring you to this page here. As you can see, I've already got that page set as the home page. To set your page temporarily as a home page, you don't have to do this. I'm just going to do it so we can see what's going on the side here while I'm coding. Go to your home page settings down the bottom here. Make sure that the page that you've got this on is saved and published, that it's not a draft page. If it's a draft page, it's not going to appear in this list here, and then just select it from the list. Once you've got the page you want, just hit publish and your new page will come up here. Okay, and to write the actual code, we need to go back a step and down to the additional CSS. And this is where we'll write our code. When you're writing CSS, it's always a good idea to give things a title. It makes it a lot easier to find, especially if there's a lot of code. Plus, if anybody else edits the site, it's kind of a courtesy. And to do a title, it's // / anything that you want to write in between the two stars will not be read as code. So it's a great place for headings and notes and things like that. So I'm going to say animated button. Alright, well, let's go back to the page now. I'm going to enable the visual builder so we can build on the front end. Okay, let's go down to where we want to work. I've got a section here, the blue section, little blue tab up the top there. It's got a row in it. I've got a single column in my row. I've got a little blurb module at the top with a headline and a bit of text, and a button module down below. I'm just going to delete the button module and we'll start from scratch. Okay, well, I'm going to add a new module. I'm going to click in the field here. Hit the little dark button to add a new module. Divi comes as standard with all these light grey modules, plenty enough to build any site. If you have WooCommerce installed, it'll also give you another dozen modules to display your products with, so it's fantastic for that too. I'm going to use the button module today. And there it is right there. Put what you want your button to say there, obviously. Down below we'll find the link. Put wherever it is you want to take your visitors, the URL to the page, you want to take them right there. Always best practice, if you're linking to your own site, keep it in the same window. If you're linking off-site to somebody else's site, open it in a new tab, that way your site stays open. Okay, well, let's move on to our design tab. I'm not going to do a whole lot to this. I'm going to pop it in the middle with alignment at the top. There's no text for us to worry about here, so I'm going to go down to the button itself, and I'm going to use custom styles for the button. I'm going to leave the text size just as it is. I am going to change it to white in colour though. And obviously these things are up to you. This is just the way I'm styling it. Make it your own, style it however you wish. I'm going to leave the background colour alone because I'm going to do that with CSS in a minute so we can actually change colours with it. Border width, well, actually I don't want a border on there at all, so I'm going to take that down to 0. No need to put a colour in. Border radius, I want my button when I put the background colour in to have rounded corners, so I'm going to give it perhaps 25 pixels. Just put in the 25, it'll put in the pixels for you. If I put this back now to perhaps 1, you'll see that it's got rounded corners. But like I say, I don't want a background and I don't want a border because we're going to do the background with some custom CSS in a minute. As with Divi, If you want to choose a different font, Divi has got a crazy amount of fonts here. If you want to audition one, simply roll over it and it will give you an example of what that text looks like. I'm going to keep mine on the default. Okay, regular's fine, button font style. Don't want it italicized or capitalized or anything. Show button icon. Well, let's put a question mark on the end. That's what I did before. So I'm going to just do a search. There we go. Divi's just partnered up with Font Awesome, so now there's a crazy amount of fonts. There's a lot of scrolling if you're just looking through randomly. Well, they've now included a little button right here where you can click on it. A breakout box will pop up and you can scroll through that way. And of course there's another search on the top if you do know what you're looking for. Okay, so as you can see, it's got an icon there, but you can only see it when we're hovering over it. I want to see that icon all the time, that question mark. So if we roll down just a little bit more, only show icon on hover, I want to turn that off. That way, that question mark is going to stay there all the time for us. Fantastic. Okay, well that's pretty much everything I want to do to this button on this side of things. I'm now going to give it what they call a CSS class, and that's a name that you give this particular module that will enable us to target it with some CSS. So go over to your Advanced tab. CSS IDs and classes is the top drop down here. It'll work with an ID, but I'm going to use a class for this particular thing today. And let's call it btngro for btgro. Call yours what you like. It wants to be unique and it wants to kind of make some kind of sense to you, so if you see it in the code panel you're going to recognize what it is. So we've given this the CSS class of btgro, so we can target it with some CSS now. I'm just going to copy this, Control C. I'm going to save this. I'm going to save our page changes here. I'm going to go back to my customizer. I've got two of them open here. Let's just keep it to one. Here's the one that we just had here. I'm going to publish that little title. And I'm going to refresh the page so that we've got our new button here. There's our old button still animating here. So I'm going to refresh this page. And there's our new page right there. So I'm going to go down to my additional CSS again to this panel. And let's start writing some code. Well, we gave it that class. All classes have to have a dot or a period in front of them. So there's a dot. And I can paste that class name that I just copied. Control V to paste. There it is. Now I can open and close some curly brackets. Inside we can tell it what we want to do. Well, I want to animate it. I want it to be growing wider and then shrinking again. And also I'm going to have that color, that background color, changing color. So I'm going to say animation, colon, and we'll give it a name. I'll call it something slightly different from what we've got for the class name. Let's call it btgro without the N. Obviously you can call yours what you want. I want mine to actually mean something again though. Okay, the time it takes, we're going to build some keyframes, and the time that it takes to cycle around those keyframes, I'm going to have 10 seconds, so 10s. I want to make it linear so it's smooth, and I also want it to keep on going and going, so I'm going to make it infinite. Great. Put a little semicolon on there. Now we've actually got to make this animation called btgro that we've told it wants to do. So let's drop down a couple more, and we're going to say at keyframes. So that's what we're using to build this today, keyframes. We've got to give it that name that we gave it up above, btgro, so it knows which one we're talking about, btgro. Let's open some more curly brackets. And in between these, we can start adding our keyframes. So at 0%, I'm going to say 0%. And this first number is 0% of this 10 seconds here. So I'm going to split this up into 5 parts, which I guess is 2 seconds a piece. So at 0%, we'll open some new curly brackets. I want the background color to be, let's say, red. As you can see, it's changed it to red there. It's sort of pulsing between red and no background at all over that 10 seconds period, because this is the only one we put in there. Okay, and I'm going to give it a specific width to start off at. So let's put a semicolon in there, And I'm going to say width. Let's start off at, say, 220 pixels. I think that's what I used before. You want to make sure it's enough to actually fit all your writing and your little icon in there. So as you can see, it's pulsing back from 220 pixels to the normal size, and it's going from red to transparent, which is the default. What I'm going to do now is going to copy this and paste it 4 times. So we've got 5 of them. Control C to copy. I'm going to drop down, paste, 3, 4, 5. Now we're going to go up to, say, 25%. Remember, this is 25% of our 10 seconds. 50%. 75%. And 100%. Not 1,000%, 100%. There we go. And let's say I'm going to alternate it between red and orange. You can do whatever colors you want. In fact, I'll demonstrate that for you in a second. And I'm going to go, say, 220. Let's say 250. And obviously you make yours whatever you want. In the middle, how tall we want it. Let's say 300. Now it's going to go back down. We want it to shrink back down after the 50%, which would be at the 5-second mark. So let's take that back down to 250. And we'll take this one back down to 200 there. So it's starting at 220. Actually, let's end where we started at 220. It's starting at 220. It's going to go up to 250, then to 300, then back down to 250, and back down to 220. And like I say, you can make these colors any you want. I'm going to alternate, but let's just put some crazy colors in there. Say green. I'm going to make colors that will stand out against blue there. Say yellow. And of course you can use hexadecimal colors or RGBAs, whatever you want to use here. And back to red on the bottom. As you can see, it's cycling through those crazy colors there. And if you want to do that, that's great, but I'm going to have mine just going red and orange. So there's red, we'll say orange there, red, and orange there. And don't forget, this code will be down below the video if you just want to copy it and change your settings here. Feel free to. Okay, so that's really what I want. I just want it between the orange and the red there, and it's actually doing what we want. So let's publish this. We can go back to our page. Make sure we've got our changes saved. If you don't see the save button down the bottom there, make sure you've got your purple button open down the bottom. Click on the purple button. There's your save down there. And let's exit the Visual Builder, which should refresh the page and give us that new code. And there we have it. We've got that little pulsating button there. Like I can say, you can make it more urgent by changing the speed. So if you change it to 5 seconds, it may be a little bit too much. As you can see, it's doing it over a 5-second period now, which is a little more urgent, but that's entirely up to you. And of course, if you want to slow it down, make it longer. I'll change that back to the 10. So there you go, guys. There's how to make a pulsating or growing button, an animated button that's really going to get people's attention when your page loads. I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.